Well, hello everyone. It's PL Stewart here on my channel, the Drowned Kingdom Saga 7847. And today I am here with four very special people. Actually, some of my very best friends in the writing community whom I love. However, I've never met them in real life. I've only met them virtually, but that hasn't affected the fact that they're extremely important to me, and I've learned so much from them. And we're all here today to share a bit about that relationship and how we all kind of came together in this one of the many groups that we're all involved in on social media and the space. But this one is really special. Certainly very near dear to my heart, and kind of call ourselves the Marmites. So we're going to kind of get into what more about what that means. So first, I'll start with having everyone, if that's okay, introduce themselves. I think I'll go. I don't want to say counterclockwise or clockwise. Let's just start. We'll go. We'll go from Holly up to Lee, Bjorn, and then Tim, and try and kind of keep that for most of the chat. So, Holly, are you willing to start off?
I am, but first, because I know I'll get shouted at if I don't do this.
Yes.
Here,
There we go. I did look for a more grimdark version of this, but unfortunately, this was the only one available with the very small amount of budget that I had, and the 5 minutes that I had to buy it in. So there you go. But yes, thank you, PL. I am H.R. Tinsley. I am a fantasy and grimdark author. My first book, We Men of Ash and Shadow, which is here, came out in 2020. It was an SBFBO 7 finalist, same year as Mr. Tim Hardy, who is currently just above me. I also have a second book in the series, The Hand That Cast the Bone, that came out in 2022. Currently working on the third in the series. Not season, it's not a TV show yet, but watch this space. I was also co-creator of The Anatomy of Fear, horror fantasy anthology. Many familiar names on this cover here. Won't read them all out because there's too many of them. Everyone's bought a copy. Most recently, I released The Hallows on the 22nd of March this year, which is my grim noir fantasy, and that is currently out in paperback and ebook.
wow, that's hard to be that introduction. But I am curious. Is like a more grimdark crown? Does that mean it bleeds, like blood pours down from the stems, or like what's a more grimdark crown? Like I
mean, I
love
don't think I would want it to make me bleed, but maybe if it had like the blood of my enemies, that could work.
Yes, maybe someone impaled on it, or yeah. Okay, I got you.
Some fingers,
That's awesome. All right, so next up.
So I'm Lee C. Conley, horror, fantasy, grimdark author. Best known at the minute for the Dead Saga series, which is the A Ritual of Bone, A Ritual of Flesh, and in the next couple of months we should see A Ritual of Blood and A Ritual of Flesh coming out as well. And in between those, I've done a ton of anthologies as well. I was kindly invited on Anatomy of Fear by you guys. We've got the red version there. Did Skybreaker and a bunch of other stuff as well. It's all on my website. I don't have a crown. I was just looking around for one of my girls' crowns, and I don't have one, so never mind. So, but yeah, that's me.
Awesome. So, Bjorn?
Oh, is it me? Well, I'm the worst prepared because I actually have to stand up to get my books. And you can see who is the professional here, and that's Holly, and who isn't, that's me. So, hello. I'm Bjorn. I write historical suspense and grimdark fantasy and humorous fantasy, and then you kind of stare all this at the same time, and then you get random books such as Storytellers and Children. Those are my children. When I was writing it, a blogger friend told me to stop fiddling with children, and it was really, really funny for the 25 years it took me to write a book. And my latest, Why Odin Drinks. I would say that from the covers, you can probably tell which ones are funny and which ones are not so funny. So Why Odin Drinks is obviously the darkest and the most grimdark of them. and children is the one with all the jokes. Don't fall for that. Don't buy children for your children. So that's me for now.
That's awesome. Mr. Hardy.
Mr. Hardy, I'm Tim Hardy. I'm a UK-based author, part of this gang. Probably best known, as Ollie mentioned earlier on, Hall of Bones was my SPF 07 finalist entry. I was running around the house and forgot to grab my other books, and they're in another room, so I'll just have to remember them. So Hall of Bones is the first in my Viking-themed fantasy series, The Brotherhood of the Eagle, and Bjorn is beautifully prepared. And I have also issued a standalone last year, A Quiet Vengeance, which was a bit of a detour into Middle East and North African inspired cultures and settings as well. So yeah, I'm constantly working now at the moment on about 9 different things, but one of the key things to get done this year is to finish Brotherhood of the Eagle and get the 4th and final book in that series out. So that's me.
Mr. Stewart.
Oh, I wasn't planning to go. But I will, and I apologize. I don't have the books of all of our absent Marmite friends with me. One that I have many on the shelf. This is Jacob Sanik's Dark Oak series, wonderful series. One of my faves in terms of indie fantasy. He also has the Return of Arthur series. It's up on my shelf as well. Bjorn probably has easy access. And yeah. Great, another great.
I have everybody's books except mine right at hand.
Yeah, but I guess if I'm forced to, I think I'm being strong-armed here. Yeah, I'm PL Stewart, and I write the Drowned Kingdom saga, and I have like 10 million books planned as well in that universe, and we'll see. If I become like Methuselah and I live to be, well over 100, maybe I'll get to write them all. So, yeah, that is me. So, friends, we have this amazing group called the Marmites. I think a lot of our viewers like to know what the inception of this group was. How did the Marmites come to be? I think who is considered our fearless leader, Her Royal Highness the Princess of Grimmark, probably is responsible in some way for this rogues gallery assembling. So, HL, do you have any input to provide on how this all germinated and came to be?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know how it is that I keep ending up a fearless leader of things, because it really probably shouldn't be happening that way. It just seems to keep happening. But in terms of the inception of the group, I think it was probably reasonably early on when I'd started writing and I was getting ready to launch my first book. And I sent it out to a load of reviewers, art copies. And one reviewer put up a really nice review, and our good friend Mr. Jacob Sanix picked up the book from that review, read it, really enjoyed it, and got in touch with me, and we started chatting. In return, I then obviously picked up his book Dark Oak, the first in his series, read it, really enjoyed it. And at that time, I was part of several writer groups, which were all quite large. They were all kind of 30 plus people. So it was a lot of voices in one space. And it was all good. It was all supportive. It was all friendly. I had a great time. Met some, I believe Mr. PL Stewart, we met in one of said groups. But because of the size of the group and the way I work, I was really looking for something that was a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate, a little bit closer knit, just so that I could have people to bounce ideas off. And I kind of got to the point where I realized I was probably talking to Jacob maybe 2 or 3 times a day about writing. And then I was talking to PL maybe 2 or 3 days about writing. And I thought, hang on, surely there's a place where I can bring these 2 people together and it will make it easier for everyone. So it was really born out of pure laziness, because I didn't want to keep hopping across different channels. So I said to Jacob, how do you feel about coming and joining a group with me? Myself and PL, obviously, we chatted a little bit about it. And we set up this kind of group of 3 and started talking, sharing story ideas, talking about the craft, talking about the industry. And then I think probably about a month later, certain Mr. Tim Hardy dropped into my DMs, telling me about Hall of Bones, and I read it, and it was my favourite book of that year. So I thought, this is another potential person who could be on the same wavelength as us. And it just kind of grew from there. And obviously, Bjorn came in. I think PL, you had been talking to Bjorn before me. And it was just a case of finding the right people with the right mindset. Yeah, and then obviously we've since added Lee as well. So we're a happy little band.
Amazing. Well, as you can see, she's too modest, but that is one of the reasons why HL continues to be the fearless leader, because she's great at leading and organizing and gathering people together. And if I'm not mistaken, Princess outranks the knaves that we are. So you're the one wearing the tiara, so you get to lead. I think that's one of the privileges. So
I wield my power with responsibility.
Definitely.
I just want to quickly pop up one of the friends of the community, great person, Miggins, Auburn Hope Books. He says, "Hey all, what's up, Matt?" And he popped back to say he'll come back soon, just watching some TV with his dad, but excited to hear from us all. So thank you, Miggins, for dropping by. We appreciate that. Miggins also has a channel and writes fantastic reviews, so check out his stuff in the general space. So, when we think about the Marmites and we think about the name and we think about who and what we are, I would qualify this by saying that we are essentially a writing group. We're a bunch of friends. We're not... it's not a group that we simply, we put it out in social space and we invite everybody to join, and but that doesn't mean we're exclusionary. There's so many groups like this, individual little groups, pockets, innumerable pockets within the space where people just have to come together. They start a Discord, they start a DM group in Twitter or X, they start a Facebook group. It's simply a group that got started by a bunch of people with, some common interests who want to chat and support each other and learn about writing and share ideas. And that seems to be how it came together. And it's been wonderful and enriching, and just, I think, for a lot of us, a big part of our lives. It's not, a cabal. It's not some secret. We're not the Illuminati. We're not, but it is.
Not yet.
Yeah, I know. Soon. World domination.
For yourself.
One step at a time. But I'd like to. I think we all, perhaps, as much as we're all this collective and collaborative group, I'm sure that the group still means something different to all of us. So I'm interested to hear from all of you what you consider the Marmites to be as a group, what it is, what it isn't. Can I ask you to explain a bit and dive into that? If we go, we'll start with Her Royal Highness again. We'll try and keep the same order.
I mean, I think for me, it is a writing group, but primarily it is a support network for me. I don't obviously know if this is everyone in the group's experience. I should know this, but when I was bringing out my first book, I was writing and marketing and promoting in the era of COVID. So we were all in lockdown. So for me, there was no way to connect with other creatives, other writers, other than to do it virtually. And as I say, I tried some different groups, some of which I'm still in today. Don't be offended, guys. You're not the only people that I speak to. I do have other groups that I talk to. But in terms of wanting something that could help me with the mental health side of being in this industry and writing and creativity, that could help me to grow as an author. What I didn't want was to be surrounded by people who would just post my books on Twitter and tell me I'm great, because I don't need that. I need people who are going to make me better, not people who are going to tell me that I'm already brilliant. So, and that's what I get from this group. I get people who will push me, I get people who support me, and I get people who tell me when I'm being ridiculous and tell me to pull my socks up and get on with it. So that's my take on it.
I just want to quickly interject and say that I feel horribly betrayed, HL, that you talk to anyone else, anywhere else, in any corner of any other space other than us. That is a travesty, but I'll let it pass for now, so we can move on to hear what you have to say.
So yeah, I'm the newest to the group. I mean, I have actually known most of you guys for quite a while. Me and Jacob were in one of the SPFBOs, one of the early ones, like back before COVID. I've known Bjorn for ages. Me and Tim and Jacob, we all stayed in a house in Bristol the other year, didn't we? And then obviously I was quite heavily involved with the formatting and the covers formatting for Anatomy of Fear, and it was just really great to get to know everyone. And Sean, I know from the Grimdark group. PL, I've seen you on Twitter loads over the years. Although it was a real honor to be invited, actually, because I knew all of you and considered you all friends anyway. And then when you said, "Oh, we've got a group," I was like, "Amazing!" And everyone in the group is a good friend. But yeah, I come from a background of similar writing groups. Again, we did the what was it? The British and Irish Writing Community Bard of the Isles group, which I connected with a few guys on, and lots of other groups. But as Holly was saying, it's nice to have a group where it's not just re-promoting each other's stuff. It's actually, you can actually ask questions. You can actually go in and get good feedback, and obviously have that support. It is a support network, isn't it? And that's more important. I've just finished a writing degree, and one of the best things about the degree was having honest feedback from people. They read your stories. They say, this needs work. This is, if you don't, like Holly says, you don't need people who just say you're great all the time. That's no help at all. It is honest, good feedback from good friends and people I've, over the last nearly 10 years, got to know you guys, and it's good to have that honest feedback. So I was really honored when you guys invited me the other month. So thank you.
Thank you. We're happy to have you. Bjorn, what?
Well, I was indeed invited by PL, and I think I knew actually everybody except Mrs. H.L. Tinsley, and I was like, why would the Princess of Grimdark want me around? But well, I'm very, very happy to be here. And for me, the greatest part of being in this group is that it's small. I used to be in big groups, indeed, and it's like at some point the group actually becomes so big that it becomes quiet. Like there are 50 people trying to talk about 50 things, and then all of them kind of try to, give the other one space, and then there's nothing being said. And then I check 2 minutes later, and the conversation has moved on by 200 messages. And before I actually read them, there's another 200. And well, with just having a few people around who are, well, like HL said, it's supportive, it's helpful, and you're very, very patient people. Thank you for that, because I can be absolutely maddening to myself. So I can't imagine how you feel about me sending 700 trillion screenshots and asking, but is this blue color good? But yeah, I think the best thing is that in a way we're all on the same train, and we all do our thing, but we all do it differently. And we get to learn from each other at a speed that I'm comfortable with.
Well, I just want to say that, the color of the red is perfection, by the way. So, maybe it took that many screenshots, but really, really worked out well, my friend. So
yeah, but about the blue, it's the blue. And my books are actually behind me because I'm very smart. So I'm sitting in such a way so that you cannot possibly see them. So maybe I have to think about it a bit longer. Well, your turn, Mr. Stewart, because you don't get to just moderate this discussion.
Yeah, but we can't go out of order, though. Holly wouldn't allow that. So we have.
Oh, sorry, I missed Tim. Sorry.
Tim first.
It's all right, I'll let you off. So I think people have covered it, really. I think the only thing I'll probably add to that, to sort of avoid repeating stuff, really, is I think people underestimate how hard this is to do. And, like you were saying, Holly, at the beginning, so that mental health side of it. Like everybody else, I've got fingers in lots of, group, writing group pies of different shapes and sizes, SPFBO finalists and, Discord groups around, different, reading groups, writing groups, those kind of things. It's great to dip in, but you're right, Bjorn, you can't be there forever. And I think there's a real danger of this, of trying to engage with lots of people meaningfully, and actually that becomes impossible really, really quickly to do. So, there is obviously those. For me, this is like an organic group. It kind of grew. I did know most of you in some shape or form before it started, and it just felt like a really organic fit. But I think you need to find those people. I think it's really important you do, because the highs and lows of this business are really, really difficult, and you need a group of people you can trust, who can actually sort of say, yeah, tell you when you need pointing in the right direction, saying your writing is awful, Tim, and that bit's dreadful. You do need people that are confident enough to tell you that, but you also need people to sort of say it'll be all right when things aren't going to plan, or those kind of things. I think for me, this group has probably been the difference between writing and not writing, and releasing books and not releasing books. So I think, basically you're responsible for all my output from 2022 onwards. I suspect. I think I would have run out of steam a long time ago. So, yeah, I just think it's a really important factor to think about if you're a creative writer. Where do you get fed? Where do you get your energy from? Where do you get lifted up when you're struggling? I think that's key for me, really. Bjorn's right, Mr. Stewart. Why are you here? And what are your motives?
It's all sinister, all part of my sinister plan. Yeah, I think HL said something really important, and we're going to get into the question about strengths of having the group and what that means a bit more in depth in a minute. But I think it's important to say, based on, and again, this is a point that Holly made, we're not just here to, promote each other's books and, okay, well, endlessly retweet, repost, each other's content. We're not just here to, as you've all said aptly, just simply boost each other, not just promotionally, but to always say, hey, you're amazing. That's a huge part of what we do. And I would agree with what Tim said. But yeah, we can also candidly have those discussions when, you need a kick in the butt or something maybe you see that is an exposure in your writing and could need improvement. You have someone who can say it, as Tim said, kindly and gently, but firmly. And also, I think when their things are bad, sometimes personally and professionally, they can be really bad. But when things are good, they're really good. And you need someone to share those triumphs with, and you need someone to commiserate with when things are down. And you need someone to, this is Holly, again, as our fearless leader, she's too modest to say, but she's created a space that feels utterly safe and welcoming and motivating and supporting. And we continue to uphold that space. I think we're all of like-minded there, and how important that is. And it's a safe little cave that you can crawl into when you need to curl up in a ball and do that. And you have someone there to help boost you up and give you the strength and the courage to go back out of the cave when you're ready. And that's a big deal. And I cannot tell you how many times over the course of the last few years that has been, as Tim said, that's made all the difference between going on and continuing to write and maybe packing up and taking my toys and going home. So, and this is bleeding into the next question, which, I had planned, which is the strengths of having this group, but there's a lot more to talk about there. There's other groups out there. There's lots of other writing groups out there. We've all talked about the fact that we're in a lot of different pies there. There's some groups doing some amazing things. I always talk about the break-ins, which is this group of up-and-coming writers that are kind of taking the whole Twitter format by storm, and they've banded together to get their books out there and share techniques. And they seem to be much more marketing focused, and they're doing some fabulous stuff. Check them out. There's a bunch of them, too many to name, but this isn't what that group is. So I kind of want to make that delineation in terms of what we are and what we're not. I see us as much more support and reinforcement, and rather than the marketing thing. It's not that isn't an aspect, but this group is it started off on that personal level, and I think that's a big part of what this group is, a group of friends, right? So I just wanted to kind of qualify that. So
just wanted to add something. It's not always the sort of criticism which is like, you could make this better. Sometimes it's actually, this is already better. It's much better than you think. So you get this kick in the ass, but you're getting kicked up, not your face down. So that's what I wanted to add.
Very well said, my friend. Very well said. So I guess it was leading to the next question, but yeah. So I'm looking specifically what the strengths are of having this group or having this specific type of group, because as I said, I want to qualify. This isn't just a marketing promotional group. It isn't just a writing group where we get in a circle and we swap drafts, and it's a different kind of group. So for your experiences in being here, what are some of those underlying strengths, and perhaps strengths that aren't initially apparent by being a part of it? Like, what are some of the things that really stick out to you about this is a positive about being with the particular group of people that we have in our group?
Okay, I'll take this one first. We'll just carry on with the order. It just makes life so much easier. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for saying that you find this a safe space to be in, because that is genuinely really important to me, and I am actually very touched that you said that. So thank you for that. Touch emotional now. But in terms of the strengths of the group, I think, yes, the mental health side of it, the emotional support side of it is really important and is a huge part of it. However, we are all writers here to write books and to sell books. And as you rightly said, we're not so much focused on the promotional, though we do promote each other's books. We do help each other with that signal boost online. However, 90% of what we do is in supporting each other in the creation of the books. So I will sit and write Vanguard or the Hallows or whatever it is I'm working on. And this may surprise you now, but I'm not very good at a lot of things. I can write a story. However, I am awful with technology. I am terrible with graphics. So having this group gives me people who are skilled in areas that I am not. And those skills are shared freely and equally within the group. So we have people who are much better at marketing. We have people who are much better at graphics. We have people who are much better at formatting. This beautiful book here is pretty much the sole work of Mr. Lee C. Connolly, who did an absolutely fantastic job, as with the Anatomy of Fear as well. And I absolutely could not have done this on my own. I know I have tried and spent many hours crying over it. So yeah, if I have a question about something that I am not confident with, or something that I maybe haven't done before or don't know very well, I know I can come into this group, I can get answers, I can get signposting, I can get solutions. And more importantly, I can have the confidence to go in and say, I don't understand how to do this. It makes me feel bad that I don't know how to do this. Please, can somebody help me out? Give me a little bit of guidance. I get that, and then I get more confidence. So in the next book, I feel better about what I'm doing. And that's what I'm getting incrementally with each thing I do. I'm getting those little boosts and those little bits of knowledge that I can take away. And hopefully I have some knowledge to share with everyone else. Not quite sure what it would be knowledge in, but I'm sure I do.
I'm going to cock things up by going out of order. Apologies.
Oh, you go first. You go first, Tim. You go first, man.
I think I think for me, you are the instigator. So I think for me, Holly, it's about you have this knack for making things happen, which is, the group exists because of that. But I think the Anatomy of Fear is a really good example. That some people, I would never have come up with the idea of doing an anthology or doing the Anatomy of Fear. That just would never have entered my head. And I think it's just having different people with different ideas is kind of, that is the strength. I think if you were all the same, the group would be different. I think the group works really well partly because we've all got our different strengths and weaknesses. I mean, it's dull, but I am good at admin and I am good at numbers. It does help. And so again, that was fairly critical when we were suddenly trying to work it out to run a project with 12 different authors, editors, artists and things on the Anatomy of Fear, for example. So I think it's about everyone contributing their own thing, and you've definitely got them to contribute. So I couldn't let that go unchallenged. Sorry, Lee, I cut across you there.
Not at all. So for me, I'm here for the friendship. I know that sounds really corny, but I really am. Like, most of you guys I've spoken to at length privately before I even knew this group. I didn't even know this group was existed until a while ago. But like Jacob and Bjorn, I spoke to you guys loads and loads and loads over the years. And it's Jacob I speak to like most days. He must be a very busy man messaging us all the time. There's a few other people as well who aren't in the group who I speak to like really regularly, and it really is like that support network. But like, but yeah, I'm here for the friendship. So it's people that I really respect as not just writers. They're just friends that happen to be writers, and like I will do anything for you guys. I mean, I've been helping people out doing their formatting and their covers and things for ages now. I've been behind the scenes secretly for ages and ages and ages. And my skills are there to be used. So hopefully you guys will be able to help me out on things, And again, the sort of mental health support network, it can be a lonely job writing, And you can go from personal crisis to personal crisis, but you've always got people online that you can, well, not even online because we meet up from time to time, but that you can speak to, who are just they're just good friends, And let's say we're all in lots of different writing groups, and we can all go join a writing group. They're not the same when you don't really know them as well, So it's people that I not only respect, but I'm friends with. So I'm just really happy to be here. I'm just sort of sitting here, really happy, like.
So I'm just really glad that Anatomy of Fear was mentioned, because I really, really wanted to be in that anthology. And then I went through very, very difficult 2 years, mental health-wise, 22 and 23. And I think pretty much all of you here know that, I pretty much made it really last moment. And all of you have been wonderful and patient and caring and helping me just, to get there, to be there. And those are very lonely 2 years in many ways. And then those were 2 years of having people like you just there, in the back saying, we got you. And even though you're going through a lot of stuff and that's making our lives more difficult, we still got you. And well, yeah, I guess I'm here for a friendship as well. Just to know that, that are those people that I can share things with, and they will not either be like, oh, well, then we don't want you in this anthology because you take time. But I can actually open up and say, look, this is what's happening, and I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to do my best. And you're going to not just say, that's great, but you're going to actually help me do my best. And thank you for this, because it does sound corny, doesn't it? But you do bring out the best in me.
Can I just add, Bjorn? Your story was amazing, and like it was never going to happen without you. We were all there for you, man. It's all good, That was happening, and the story that was actually ended up in the book is absolutely top tier. It's amazing, man. It's really good. So.
Thank you.
You, Bjorn, and everyone here could only enrich my life, not be any kind of a detriment. I mean, personally, as you know, you're one of my closest friends in this space, and there's no way that I would have gotten through the last few years without you in this space. There's absolutely zero chance of that, and you know that, and you know the kind of conversations we've had personally, and I'm sure you've had with different members of this group and just support. And I can say this about this group in terms of what I have to contribute to this question is that when you're an entrepreneur, especially in indie, so much of it is you're fumbling, bumbling, stumbling, trying to figure out your way to do this and this. And, oh, I pressed the wrong button to upload it to Amazon. Oh, I don't know how Zon works. I don't like it. It's all just a mess in some ways at first, right? And then when it comes down to the writing, it's like, I think I did this right. I think I brought out that characterization. I think, is this battle scene okay? But what this group has done for me is, yes, the list of things I'm good at is very small, but this group is kind of, and I've said, no, Peel, you're good at that. You can do that. This is a strength. So I think that's one of the things that this group has helped me with in being, especially a writer, entrepreneur, indie business entity, that it's really been supportive in saying, hey, you know what? This is a strength. You should keep going with this, right? And it's really helped steer me in the right direction a lot of times. And where I otherwise probably would have fallen flat on my face. And sometimes I have, and that's no fault of the groups. It's it's my own. But I think that's a big thing that is really really this group has done for me since I've been part of it. So um, Mr. Miggin says Anatomy of Fear is staring at me on the TBR bookshelf. Got the Kickstarter, so I don't really have to. Yep, thank you so much, Matt, for contributing to the Kickstarter. And they're holding it up again. That's amazing. And here is the absolutely wonderful Esme Rosaline. One of the, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep embarrassing her, one of the best at writing the written review in our corner of this space. She says, hi, all you lovely people, can't stay. Just popping in to say hi. All of your stories are still stuck in my mind. So beautifully haunting. Top tier anthology. Have a lovely evening. Cheers. Thank you so much, Esme. That was very, very sweet of you to say. So thank you. So let's talk a bit about the term Marmite and what that means and how it relates to us. And I want to get into, first of all, the general definition as what you all see it to be. And how do you feel about, we picked that name. I don't remember how. Our fearless leader, Ms. Tinsley, probably will. And I don't remember, what the initial discussions were, like formally kind of like, yep, that's us. We're the Marmites based on how we felt about, each other, our works, etc. But I honestly think, based on a lot of discussions we've had recently in the group, that we feel differently about that term and how it relates to us now as we did when the group started. So I'd like to get your feedback and comments on that.
Oh, this could get controversial now. There could be disagreements coming. Yeah, I believe that the name Marmites actually wasn't really a discussion. I think I just pretty much said this is what the group's called, and everyone just went, yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, Marmite, for those that don't know, because I'm aware this doesn't always translate internationally, Marmite's slogan is love it or hate it. And the whole brand for Marmite spread is based on this idea that it's a very divisive flavour. So people either love it or hate it. And when I put the group together and invited everybody in, one of the things that I really felt about my work was that it was getting quite extreme reactions. So when I brought out the first Vanguard book, people seemed to either really, really love it or really, really not love it. So at the I think it was just funny at the time, and we went with it. But having looked back now, knowing that PL was going to ask this question, I have changed my stance on why I think the name fits the group. However, I do think that it still fits the group, because to me, saying something's Marmite and that someone will love it or hate it is not a reflection on my work. It's not a reflection on my writing. It's a reflection on art and the industry and creativity as a whole. And rather than me using it as a way to judge my work, it's a way to make me feel more relaxed about it, because it's Marmite. People will love some things, people will hate some things. It's all down to the individual reader, it's all down to the individual person. So for me, I think the name's quite meaningful, actually, because every time I look at my screen and see the Marmites, it reminds me that it doesn't actually matter. As long as I write the book and put it out there, I'm doing my part of it. And then people that love it will read it, and people that don't love it either won't read it or they'll read it and not love it. That's out of my hands. That's the bit I don't control. And I'm getting to the point where I'm okay with that now. I'm getting to that point.
So I just want to say, I really dislike the product Marmite. I mean, it's just gross. Don't like it at all. Now, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. But to me, Marmite is like, love it or hate it. And there's always this paranoia. I don't know. I suffer from this. There's always this paranoia that people either don't like me or don't like what I'm doing. And it's like, I don't know if I imagine a lot of writers get this, but I know this is something I suffer with. It plagues my whole life. I'm always just like, I could have a really nice chat with someone and then I'll be like, walk away from the conversation. They hated me. It's just a paranoia, paranoia. But yeah, so like, also, as I write horror, I write basically zombie horror. So a zombie can be a lot of people just instantly dismiss it. You know, it's not. I don't mention the word zombies. I'm also not a fan of that word, but it's very niche. So it's either it really does fit the description well. You're either going to love it or you're really not going to bother with it. It's not going to be your thing. But if you are into really nasty, gory horror, fantasy stuff, then it's your bag. You might be one of the people that likes Marmite, but on this case, I don't like Marmite at all, and often don't. I'm not sure if I even like my own stuff. but yeah, that's just me talking because I'm crazy. But yeah, I think Holly actually put it really quite philosophically and eloquently in your final summary there. It does actually work for art, doesn't it? So I'm gonna stick with what Holly said there at the end there. That's actually very, very good, apt description of Marmite as a group name. So
You're actually a bit like Gormite.
What's that?
Well, it's like Marmite but with gore in it.
That sounds good.
I actually remember when we were DMing on Twitter and you told me you loved children, and I started reading your book and I was on page 10 and I was like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed to see this. But this book is just scaring the shit out of me.
That's the infamous page that got it kicked out of SPFBO back in the day. The reviewer read it and went, I'm not going any further. They got like 10 pages in and went, nope, it's too gory. But anyway.
I've actually never tried Marmite as a product. I'm aware of it existing. Of course, I know love it or hate it. But the thing is, I don't know whether people love it or hate it, but I think it's pretty damn successful. I mean, it's been around for quite a while. So it looks like enough people love it. And well, for me, I think the biggest thing is that I write humor. And this is like Norse mythology. On the cover, there's a big leather guy and kind of scared Odin. And that probably already gives you an idea that not every fan of Norse mythology is going to like this. And humor is a Marmite just by itself. And as for this being the name of the group, I don't really think of the group as Marmite. I just think of it as, actually, privately, I call it Holly's Slack group. But my husband is like, which one are you talking about? I'm like, I always talk about the same one. So I think I'm probably quite Marmite. And Lee, by the way, that paranoia, we share that. I'm sitting here thinking, after what I just said, you probably just hate me right now.
No.
But if you say no, I will not believe you, so that doesn't matter.
You're one of my favorite people, Bjorn. I say this all the time.
That's what he would say. Yeah, that's it for me. Tim, have you actually...
I just want to put it quickly that Megan's notes, Lee, your stuff sounds really unique. Love it. Don't get much horror fantasy mashups nowadays. So just wanted to quickly put that up there before I let Tim go ahead. I apologize, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Holly's nailed that philosophical debate. I think that the crucial thing that we really got to look at here is, have you actually eaten Marmite? Because if you haven't, should you be in the group is another question that we've got to ask ourselves after this call's over, because I hadn't realised that was even a possibility. Yeah, don't try New Zealand Marmite, although that's probably going to get us cancelled on the one side of the globe. So perhaps we can, I don't know, can we edit this? I love Marmite. I just love that weird substance that somebody boiled down in a vat somewhere. I don't know, does it sink or does it float? No one knows which bit of the vat it comes from, but I just love that flavour. I can't get enough of it. Breakfast, lunch, tea, snack. You know, if I thought about it, I'd have brought a pot and put it on the screen now so you could all see. Maybe I'll go off camera and do that. But yeah, but I think that the point is Marmite, isn't it? That's the point. It does being Marmite exceptionally well, but people's reaction to that is going to be very wide, varied. Well, actually, it's not. It's one of two things: love it or hate it. In actual fact, but you know, that's fine. I think that means you're distinctive. You're doing something to your standards, to what you're intending to do, and I think that's what we all need to aspire to do as writing. So yeah, I think the term's a bit of a joke, definitely, but I think it has got those sort of layers of meaning that you can only get from a product that's derived from a weird culinary process that somebody just felt desperate enough to try one day because they were probably drunk. But there you go. So that's my philosophical ramblings.
you
Tim,
know,
Marmite, cheese, or both at once?
Mate, I mean, Marmite and then cheese on top, next level. Next level.
Every
Toast.
time I only eat it
Go
in
on.
gravy. Gravy. Put it in gravy and it's all right. Not with cheese, though. You don't defile cheese with Marmite. Don't do that.
I'm just going to say that the king of all Marmite snacks is the Marmite spaghetti.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I have had that.
oh,
So, in
okay.
fact, I've pretty much eaten Marmite in every way imaginable, but let's not go there because it's not that kind of broadcast and not that kind of show.
I'm either missing out on an awful lot, or I'm not missing out on an awful lot.
Yeah, and you don't know that's the word. I can't even imagine. I mean, imagine eating Marmite. It's almost like a profound. This could be the most profound thing that ever happens to Bjorn, actually.
Wow, yeah, this sounds like transcendental, like Marmite, like eat Marmite and you're transported into another stratosphere. So
Or you're vomiting down the toilet. One of the two.
that's still a transcendental experience.
It is, but not in the way you want to be.
Yeah.
Neil, have you had Marmite, and what did you think?
Sorry, I missed. Did you say?
Have you eaten the product that we're all?
I have eaten the product actually, and I'll say this much: there's other products that are not the same, but remind me of things that are similar. One of them is Nutella, what we call in the Canada's Nutella. It's like a fake peanut butter spread, and there's lots of like spreads out there and things with certain consistencies that remind me of Marmite, but don't taste the same. But what I get in my head with Marmite is it's something that's brewed in a laboratory by people that kind of took a lot of discarded stuff from other stuff and threw it in there. And it's just in my head, it's like even when sometimes it's like this doesn't taste so bad, I just automatically go back to what are the contents of this thing, who and what body parts made this thing. So
I think it was post-war desperation is probably what made people try it. But
I like what
if you start to think about
how
a lot of things are made, they're pretty vile. So I'm just saying, I don't think that cuts it, PL. I think what you're doing there is you're overthinking Marmite. And
probably am.
I think he just got it right. He just said body parts, and there's someone at Marmite HQ now going, "Shut this down." They found the truth.
That's gonna be Lee's next book. Actually, it's gonna be
Marmite.
It's pretty much already in my current ones, to be honest. If you distill down some human parts, but no, Marmite's it's like vegetables, isn't it? If you like distill vegetables down to its basically tar and then stick it in a jar, that's basically Marmite, isn't it?
And it's delicious. Just for the record, and for the interests of balance.
I'm going to politely disagree. It's disgusting.
I'm going to get slightly philosophical again myself, and not entirely disagree because all of what you said was very insightful and eloquent. You said, I'm going to say this, and so I'm going to say this. I am very conscious of the fact that, in my mind, and I'm not saying this is a pity party or anything else. I feel that of all of us, my books are perhaps the most Marmite-ish. They are the main character I write, and the themes I write about are something that would make people bounce off hard, a lot of them. And I accept that. I embrace that. I've learned over time to really feel proud of that. However, I also understand that is the likely reaction and continues to be the reaction with the way I write and what I write about. That said, it's become, frankly, somewhat of a badge of honor. And, whereas I don't think as much, and perhaps, I should, about the fact that Marmite is very successful. It's, if my book sold as many copies as Jars of Marmite have been created, I'd be a full-time writer by now, right? But I do feel that one thing that, and this is really back to the group, you folks have made me feel okay and positive and supported the fact that what I write is Marmite. You're part of the reason why I'm even prouder of what I write now, and that you've supported me through that. And I feel like, that's okay to be Marmite. Because guess what, too? If for something happens, and that's not why I write, obviously, it's not all, and that's not why any of us write. I mean, yeah, we'd all love to be best-selling, multi-million dollar best-selling authors, but that's not what we write. But being Marmite for me means I'm being true to myself, despite the fact of knowing, like a conscious thing that people will bounce off, but some people will also love it. And that has to be okay, right? And that's what this group has helped me come to, but that's okay too, that it's a positive. So now I kind of feel like the Marmite tag is a badge of honor. So I see Niggas has put up that often can be a right arsehole, but that's part of what captivates. I want to understand why he's like that, and is he capable of change? Well, thank you for that, Megan. So
We'll find out 20 books from now.
well, for authoring, no, only 3. His story is almost coming to an end. So, so my next question is for all of us in the group. What have we learned now for Lee, obviously a bit newer, but for the time that you've been in this group, what have you learned from being part of the Marmites? What do you think? What are some of the lessons you've learned from being in this group?
I think that the probably biggest lesson that I've learned from being in this group is I came into this already knowing what I wasn't good at, and already being vaguely aware of some things that I was okay at and quite happy with what I was doing with them. So there were certain elements of my writing that I knew needed improvement. There were some that I was happy with. I think coming into this group, there are things that I have found out about myself in terms of what I'm good at, what I can achieve. And yes, I think we all are very good at kind of downplaying the strengths that we have. I think we'll all, within the group and probably as people anyway, talk about the things that we're bad at more than the things that we're good at. And through this group, I'm slowly learning to try to do that less, which is ironic because I'm aware that we've pretty much been doing it consistently throughout this entire chat. But, I'm going to sit here now and say, do you know what, actually, there are some things that I am good at. There are some things that I look at that I've done and I say, yes, I am happy with that. And I don't think I would feel that way if it wasn't for this group helping me to get to that point. So Tim said earlier about me being a bit of an instigator. And I think I've always seen that as either as a negative or as an annoyance. I've always felt I'm someone who starts things and then gets bored or walks away or drops them. With this group, I don't do that. I don't have the choice, to be honest. I was like, let's do a Kickstarter, and a year later it had taken over my life. But yeah, just little things like, I'm getting better with visuals for my books. I'm getting better with the promotional stuff, making memes with octopuses on them. That's my thing now. I'm not brilliant at everything, but I am better than I was 5 years ago. And it's okay for me to say that.
Well, so
that's it.
I've only been... No, that's all good. I mean, I've only been in the group a short time, and I'm about to release 2 new novels pretty soon, which are long awaited. A lot of people have been waiting for these books for like 4 years now. So I'm about to drop these books on these guys and give some feedback and things. But one of the things I've noticed, I've only been in, I can't remember how long it's been, a month or 2, couple of months, but obviously we've been talking a long time anyway, and like we were in the Atomy of Fear group, and it's kind of just a natural jump over, wasn't it? But one of the things I've noticed already is there are some real, and this is going to sound terrible, I'm a writer, right? And I am a musician previously, so I'm very much involved in the art. And although I think I'm quite good at the business side of things, there are some real book writing business powerhouses in this group. So not only am I looking for the feedback from you guys, which is going to come when I drop those stuff on you. I mean, and Jacob's always given me things anyway and things like that. But just seeing how these guys work in a business sense. I know it sounds terribly capitalist and terribly not about the art at all, but just seeing how they do things, and just comparing notes, and seeing how the strategies they use and things. As I've learned an awful lot in short space of time already. So that's great, and hopefully I'll continue to that, and I'll use that to augment my own stuff and continue improving. But yeah, it's nice because I know there's some absolutely formidable writers in here too. I mean, everyone, in fact. But like, when I need you to give me the critique, I know you're going to be there. And when I need advice on how am I doing this promotion right? Am I running this ad campaign right? Am I doing my emails right? There's people in here that I know and who've shown me what they do, and it's just incredible. So it's awesome. I'm as I said earlier, I'm just really happy to be here. So.
Well, I actually agree with the above. It's like a part of it is that sometimes I think that I know what I'm doing well, and then this doubt kind of creeps in. But I also know what I really don't do well. And then you guys are sometimes a bit too nice. And I'm like, no, actually, I do know I don't do this well. And one of those things is what you are currently doing. And can you please tell me some more about this? And that can be craft, that can be just skill, that can be Facebook ads, whatever. Also, I get to, it is quite a privilege. I get to watch you guys go from, one point to the next. Tim, like I got to see your Kickstarter sort of from behind the scenes, and Holly with the Hallows. Well, I've been there before it was there, sort of, and that is quite amazing reading. To just get to watch people that I consider brilliant go through those steps from, I don't even know how to write the without it being the worst the in the universe ever, having this, amazing book, and then promoting it in various ways, which I might have never even heard about, much less thought of. So I get to learn a lot, and then I try to share what I know, and hopefully someone gets something out of that as well.
Well, trying to follow. I mean, it feels like a group therapy session this to a certain extent, because you mentioned the word Kickstarter, and I've immediately had like a PTSD reaction to that, because it was bad enough doing it together with all of you guys, basically, when Holly was leading the charge, but doing it on my own was, that was another level of difficult to do. But I think what, trying to turn that back to the question, the reason why I mentioned that is, I think this group's taught me the power of a positive act and the power of saying yes over the power of saying no. I think it's very, very easy to think I'm not good enough at such and such a thing, or I don't know enough about such and such a thing, and it's very easy to sort of then not do that thing. And so it would be very easy for me to write books, and I had to do this for many, many years. I wrote lots and lots of books at home on my own and put them somewhere. And it's very, you can write books that way, but you sure as hell can't sell books that way. Going into that environment of being an author and actually wanting people to read your stuff, you've got to take a lot of different positive steps to do that. And I think what has really surprised me is I thought I knew what I was doing, but I thought I could just plough this sort of furrow on my own and just do it, and that would be all that would need to happen. But actually, but just by being a bit more positive and a bit more available to other people, it's surprising what then comes back through. So I think the Kickstarter with the Anatomy is a great example where lots of people came together. Oh, you can do that. Well, Lee can format. Really, I didn't know that. That's very handy, isn't it? And all of a sudden, these things start to sort of snowball into a more positive, bigger thing. And so I think, being an author is obviously a very solo effort in many respects. But I think one of the things I learned from the group is by just going outside your comfort zone a little bit, saying yes when the inclination is to say no. It's surprising what then comes about and does it. I wouldn't have run that Kickstarter that I ran on my own if I hadn't been in this group and hadn't been part of the project that ran the previous Kickstarter that showed me the ropes. So I wasn't floundering. Well, I was actually floundering around like an idiot. That's a bad example. But generally speaking, less floundering and less of an idiot than I was previously. So the power of saying yes, power of positivity, that they're not to be underestimated. And that's actually what everyone of this writing fraternity is doing. They're being positive. They're creating something that didn't exist previously. and putting it out there. And that's absolutely marvelous, but it only happens because people are being positive. So for me, that's been a real, I'm very much you don't want to do that kind of person. And it took me well into my 40s before I started being more positive consciously. And the rewards of that have been tenfold to everything I put in. So I think that's my key learning.
That's fantastic to hear all of you that well, for one thing, you all feel you learned something from the group, so that's amazing. Before I answer, I just want to quickly put up, because Megan's had to leave, he says, Holly, your work is brilliantly atmospheric. Your works really inhabit their world, from the setting through to the characters. So big compliment there, and I'm sure we all agree, those of us who have read Holly's work. And finally, he said, I have to go now, but been a wonderful conversation. Very excited to venture into all your works. And Tim, to hear yours with the wonderful RJ, of course, with Hollow Bones, getting the audiobook narrated by RJ.
I mean, RJ's done all our audiobooks now. He did all my stuff like 4 or 5 years ago. He's doing Tim's, he's doing Holly. He did Anatomy of Fear. He did like Lauren McRae's. He's done loads. He's an absolutely fantastic narrator, actually.
He's all right, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good lad. He's a good lad.
Fantastic. He's fantastic. So, but yeah, so for me, I want to pull on the thread that Tim made, is that I very much learned that I guess I don't know what I quite envisioned when I started doing this whole thing, but I did envision that it would be a lot more solitary and a lot more myself and Deb, my wife, who's my business partner, us, only hashing out between the two of us, everything, only being able, and it's a strength to have Deb is the greatest strength of my life, besides, hey honey, love you if you watch this later, that, then now she's been willing to partner with me on this entrepreneurial journey. But I still felt like, if anything, I might be able to us rely on each other, but that's it. I'd be, as Tim said, floundering, bumbling, stumbling through, everything. But to find this group of people who are not only so good at so many things, but so genuine, so warm, and so caring, and willing to help out, like go out of their way to help each other and support each other, that's a gem of a find. And that's a gem that I did not expect at all. Not that I didn't expect to meet good people in the writing community. Not that I didn't expect that there would be good people who might help here and there, but I didn't expect to find this, like a nucleus, like your second home, right? I did not expect to find that, and maybe I should have been, because I think I am a positive person. I'm optimistic. I just couldn't have predicted it. I envisioned a bit more of a, I don't want to say a cutthroat, environment. I guess I underestimated how supportive in general the writing community is, and it is, but I certainly underestimated the fact that I would find something this valuable to me through these wonderful people that, have formed this group. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. So that's a very pleasant surprise. So, but I wanted to, for the last question before we get into some other things, I wanted to do something a bit different. We're going to talk about, initially I wanted to give lots of time, in the last half an hour or so of the broadcast for us to talk about our works. But I think maybe so I want to do something a bit unique, and I'm the host, so I get to call the order. So I'm going to ask that, because I believe, I just want to confirm, we've all read at least one of the people's works in this group. Yes, we have. Yeah, because we've all read either something in one of the anthologies or one of the big novels. So I'm going to ask, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to say something great about Bjorn's work. Bjorn's going to talk about Lee. Lee's going to talk about Holly. Holly's going to talk about
I'm not a good choice to talk about Lee's work, I'm afraid.
Sorry?
I'm not a good choice to talk about Lee's work.
You're not a good choice. Okay, so we'll have Tim speak on Lee's. Tim, you've read Lee's work?
You're probably best with Holly. Tim, you haven't read my last novel, have you?
I've not read the novel. I've read the short stories, though. That
is true.
I've read the novel. So
okay, so we'll have HL talk about Lee. We'll have I'll talk about Bjorn, and Bjorn, you talk about Tim. Okay, so HL talks about Lee, and then yeah. Okay, so you got the order.
Okay.
Okay, you're up.
Okay. So I'm on the spot now. I've got.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hide.
So, Mr. Lee C. Conley, I have read 3 of his works because, as mentioned, Lee is in The Anatomy of Fear. He did the story Eyes. We also worked together on another anthology, which the name of escapes me. It will come back
I've
to
got
me.
it. Skybreaker.
Skybreaker, that was the one. Yes. And I also have a paperback copy of The Ritual of Flesh. I believe that's the first one.
Oh, Bones the first one. Flesh. They're all Ritual of something, but Bones the first one. Flesh the second.
Yeah, so I have the first one, which I have read. I actually bought it for my son when he was probably about 16. And I think it was the first novel I actually managed to get him to read for probably about 10 years because nothing was gory enough for him. And then along came Mr. Conley and just hit the mark. So, yeah, as previously mentioned, fantasy horror. I know that obviously Leo said that he doesn't like the term zombie, but that is probably the one that people will most relate it to. And yeah, it's not what you would expect. I think when I bought it, I thought it would be a horror book with like maybe a splash of fantasy, like, you know, in the background, but actually it's a really good merging of the two. There are some really gory bits in it. I am aware of the page 10 incidents, which I'm not going to spoil for people, but yeah, that was I had to step away for a moment after that. But yeah, I think all of the stuff that Lee does, the way that he writes is it's very gruesome, but it's also very thoughtful and observant as well. And that's what I like about it. It isn't gruesome and gory for the sake of gruesome and gore. At least that's not how I read it. There is a richer, wider world. So this horror scene is happening within a fantasy world, and that sort of expands it out and makes it a deeper, more interesting story. And I will say as well that with The Anatomy of Fear, the story Eyes, that was, I believe, your first foray into Gaslamp. Was it the first one, I think?
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but that's kind of your fault. But I'll talk about that in a minute, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that, again, really atmospheric. You could just feel the smog and the smoke and the grime on the streets, and it was kind of Jack the Ripper-esque. And yeah, just top-notch stuff with lots of blood and guts and bodily fluids flying everywhere.
Wow.
So do you want me to do Hollies?
Yeah, so yeah, if you can do Hollies, yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So I actually really, really love Holly's first book. It's awesome. The grit is just gritty. It's so gritty. So it actually totally inspired me. Actually, I'll fully admit this now, Holly. I don't think I've told you, but it totally inspired me to write the story I wrote for The Anatomy of Fear. I thought, well, yeah, this Gaslamp lark, it's pretty good, isn't it? Actually, it's pretty good. So I admired. I tried my hand at not copying Holly, but inspired by Holly. That's similar setting, you know, that sort of got that Gaslamp feel. But yeah, her prose is fantastic. Her characters are really, really, really good. I mean, that's one of the things that really stands out. Like, really, like even within a page, I think on that opening page, you're behind that. I think, if you look at the story I think it's the one in Anatomy of Fear, that opening page, amazing. You are hooked into those characters. And it's only a short story. Now, one of the things I learned at uni is if you have the power to completely hook a reader within such a short space of time, short stories are quite hard to do. That shows some quite good skill. So I was, I thought that was awesome. I'm a big fan of Holly's work. And then when Holly asked me to help her out with some of the bits and bobs, I was just like, yeah, absolutely, anytime. And then invited me to the group, and I was like, yay, awesome. But yeah, I'm a big fan. Holly's amazing. Check out her stuff.
That is, yeah. No, I would have to concur. I think it's easier if I speak about Bjorn's, then Bjorn can talk about Tim's, and that way it's kind of like a...
I can talk about Tim, yes.
Yeah, so I will speak about Bjorn's. Bjorn is simply one of the most talented authors that I know. I feel he can write in any genre. All of his works are fabulous. They're all 5-star reads. The Storyteller's book is different. It's historical fiction. And although it is fantastic, it's not my favorite book of his. My favorite book of his is actually Children, but Children doesn't truly display how brilliant it is. I think Why Owen Did Drinks displays how brilliant it is, because I would say that when it comes to satire, when you think of the Terry Pratchett's of the world, they're few and far between. So I'll talk about both. So the book that showcases how utterly brilliant Bourne is, Why Owen Drinks. My favorite book by him, Children. So when it comes to Why Owen Drinks, I think that yes, Bjorn could write at that level, at the Pratchett level, because he's so good with making you laugh while making you think and really think deeply about subjects. And it is so witty, it's so biting, it's so cutting, and you're laughing, and then you realize, ooh, this is what I'm laughing at, eh? And that takes rare skill. Children there's humor in Children. There's a lot, especially in the beginning, but it is dark as hell. And when I say dark, I don't mean slash him, body parts flying. I mean psychologically dark. I think he's called My Stuff moral grimdark. I think his is psychological grimdark, but it's so well done. It's exceptionally well done. Bjorn has a scene and a character in that book. I can't spoil it, but I will never ever forget for the rest of my life. He knows what I'm talking about. For the rest of my life, as long as I live, I will never ever forget that character and the first scene that introduced my character. And every time I saw that character going forward, I literally was quaking to see what was going to happen. And again, it's not horror, but that was a horrific element. But it was poignant and it was masterful. And yeah, the guy is, I don't think he's scratched the surface of his talent, frankly. So yeah, that's Bjorn's.
Thank you. Well, your favorite character is coming back soon.
Oh wow. Okay.
That will be
Yes,
worse.
that's true. Yeah.
It will be better, and by that I mean worse. So actually, when the SPFBO started, and we got allocated to the same group, Tim has messaged me and said, basically, congratulations on winning. And then Tim went and won the group and didn't get into semifinals. And I thought that was actually quite hilarious. But I read Hall of Bones, and it's so hard to talk about this book without giving spoilers, because like there's a quite unusual protagonist in this book, and you're reading and you're like halfway through and there's quite a plot twist, and then you think, okay, so I know where we're heading now, and then around 85% there's such a plot twist. You have to go to Goodreads and read my review, and I'm really trying not to give spoilers, but it was quite a roller coaster there. And then last year, Tim just went and published this awful, horrible book. And what's
I
so
just
awful
burn it, get rid of it. It's
never going to happen. The problem is that this happens a lot, and yeah, PL mentioned that. There are groups that are just there to kind of, promote each other's stuff. And I got a bit paranoid about it, and I'm trying to disclose this person. I have once spoken on Twitter in November 2021 about this and that. So I read The Quiet Vengeance, I think in the beginning of the year. And then I read a lot of really different books. Like among my favorite books of the year was Britney Spears' memoir and Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. I was thinking, which one do I love the most? And I realized that it's kind of hard to put those books in order. Well, do I prefer Britney Spears' memoir or Agatha Christie? Because those books are so similar, it's just very easy to pick one, right? And I started picking them instead, like my favorite book in a particular genre. And I got back to A Quiet Vengeance. And that was really horrible because I told myself I'm not going to 5-star books by my friends. I'm not going to just gush about books by my friends. And the problem is that I feel a quiet vengeance. Well, obviously it's fantasy. And it also has 2 timelines. But I feel like a quiet vengeance is storytellers don't write. It's just, I was reading it, and those 2 timelines, when they swap, it's always at exactly the moment when I'm ready. I never think, but I want to go on more with this character, and I'm never irritated that it's the other one now, and the other way around. I'm never like, oh, why did he stop with this one? I don't care about that one, and I'm interested in both all the time, and that is, you know, art is kind of like, a friend of mine once went to the Museum of Modern Art in Vienna, and he got stuck on an exhibition for half an hour on a video installation. And then I looked, and I was like, what did he love about it so much? And it was 2 naked people smearing each other with vomit. So that's art. I would say art is quite Marmite then. But what acquired vengeance is incredible skill. I think the word is artisan. It's someone who is talented, who can create something really special, and who can do it really, really well. And well, of course, there's the story you have in Anatomy of Fear, and of course, I will never stop trying to get you to write a sequel to Acquired Vengeance like tomorrow, or ideally yesterday, because I'm ready to start reading now. But I think it's with everyone actually in the Marmite group. I just love watching people grow from strength to the next strength. Like, you know, when I read the Hall of Bones, I did not know you had acquired vengeance in you. I did not see that coming, and it blew me away. And I had to admit, really, really shamefully, that at the end, my favorite book of last year was written by a friend, and I'm still kind of ashamed about it. But it's just true.
Bless you.
That was amazing and quite true. I suppose I have to allow if I must allow Tim to talk about mine. I was going to try and get out of it, but
it's got to happen, hasn't it? I wasn't going to let you get away with that anyway.
I did it.
Yeah, and how did you describe? I think you mentioned a little bit earlier on. I think in your work is just so uncompromising, PL. I think that's the bit I really love about it. You set out with a very clear plan when you started to write that series, your wider world, and it would have been really easy to write something easier, but you just didn't do that. So I think that's why it sets the book apart, because you have an unlikable protagonist, which a lot of other writers do that, but you do it all from inside their own head, but yet you still have that protagonist able to portray other characters in a positive light, and so the other characters come through this unlikable filter. It's quite extraordinary actually how you're able to draw out that. It's still very clear how you can have the whole cast behave, what they think, where they sort of sit on that spectrum of so good, bad, evil, and morally grey, and all the stuff in between. It's they're very sophisticated books actually, and I think for me that again it just shows great skill. Like Bjorn was just saying before, I think we're all learning at this. We all, I think, I've written good stuff, but I think what's really exciting about is seeing how people's skill and craft develops as they sort of layer that on and bring that experience, and the tales come to the sort of fulfillment really. So I think Othran's a sort of creative masterstroke. He's like the antagonist in his own novel and doesn't know, which I do love. I think, and I will just say, world building is just off the chart scary. I mean, I've got characters coming up my ears. I've got characters I don't need. I've got characters I can't remember. But you've got, every one of yours plays a role. And I think what I particularly like now, I'm getting into, I've just finished reading the 4th book. It's like an interlocking puzzle which is going through time. And some of these little seeds you sowed in book 1 and book 2 and book 3, those story arcs are now starting to come back. So again, if you like really intricately plotted, I suppose almost semi-historical fantasy kind of stuff, that kind of crossover genre, this is definitely the book for you, really. I think you deal with difficult themes as well. I like a book that makes me think. You definitely do that with these stories. There's no shying away from the darker side of people, and the you handle racism, you handle religious bigotry, you handle colonialism and all the impact that comes with that, and the eradication of other peoples. It's absolutely gripping stuff, because so many times the people that are doing this thing think they're totally justified in what they're doing, and so that narrative kicks back round all the time. And this will probably irritate you slightly, but you do write quite good battle scenes. I hate to say it. So although there's a lot to think about and a lot to chew on, and the meaty books that you definitely, they're not a quick read necessarily. The action side of it, you also have that skill. So I think they're a book that, in some respects, they're a bit of a crowd pleaser for different types of readers, which is perhaps a bit less Marmite in actual fact. But yeah, I mean those battle scenes and the action side of it, really, really thrilling stuff. So yeah, it's a Drowned King saga is not to be ignored. So I know that's excruciatingly embarrassing to listen to, because as I said, listen to Bjorn, but I think you need to hear it because it's brilliant stuff, mate.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes,
Do
of
it.
course.
Two things. First of all, all of you pretty much, stop doing it's excruciating to hear nice things about your work. Because, be honest, you are authors. You work. You want people to love your work. When people love your work, be happy and say thank you. I remember, I'm a Viking. I brag. You go start bragging about yourself a bit. And I wanted to mention Jacob Senex, who cannot be with us today. But I was actually on a retreat in Germany where I barely had any internet, and I bought Raven Master's Revenge. And I knew it was Arthurian fiction, and I don't really know much about King Arthur. There's the sword, and there's those 12 knights or something. And I started reading this book, and suddenly it just ended. I was like, what the fuck just happened? I have to find some internet to download the second one now, because it was just a roller coaster. I had no idea what just happened, but I wanted more of that.
Yeah, fantastic.
And the only problem with the series is that he says that it's over, and I would like it to continue a bit further because I don't have enough yet.
Do you know, to add to that, Bjorn, I love the Raven Masters books, actually, by Jacob. I actually love his Dark Oak books more, so much so that he even put my quote on the front of his book, so which is lovely of him. I was super, super touched by that. But yeah, those books are amazing. And the new one's just come out, and I haven't read it yet, and I cannot wait to read the third and final book. I've been waiting for so long for this book. It
is fantastic. You want me to point? It's amazing. It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And yes, Jacob Senex, two-time back-to-back SPFBO Sigma finalist, is definitely no slouch in the writing department. He writes gut-wrenching scenes like very few. He's
real kicks you in the feels.
Yeah, he's gonna absolutely rip your heart out and stomp on it and make you like it. It's good stuff. So
I've just started Age of the Dryad. Actually, I'm just in updates. So he's my current read at the moment. So I'm going back into the Dark Oak. So
enjoy, man. Enjoy.
Yeah,
it is a good book.
Yes, Your Royal Highness.
Yes, absolutely. We all love Jacob. His books are amazing. However, there is another Marmite gang member who we have yet to mention, I believe, Mr. Sean Crow.
yes.
Who has been with us since the start of the group, one of the veteran Marmites, as we are now. His books are just crazy, chaotic. I'm talking about the Valhalla Steel series here. He also has his Godless Lands series as well. But, Valhalla Steel. I don't know what I read there, but it was absolutely brilliant. It's like Vikings and cyberpunk, and there's guns and explosions. It was like he took every dream I had as a child and then put it into a book for, an adult to read. And it blew my mind. It was absolutely brilliant. He's the cool guy in the gang, without a doubt. So yeah, big shout out for Sean there.
Yeah, 100%.
My husband actually finished reading Valhalla Steel, and he said the same to me. I have no idea what I just read. Is there more?
Yeah. Godless Lands, it was the book I read by him. It was grim, dark, gritty, realistic. And if you want to read about, the worst that we can do and the society just going to shit, that's a really, It's really well done. But with heroism and a few people who have a chance to make a difference, but they're up against, the odds are up against our seem they will crush them. So, but yeah, that's you very. Sean is also an exceptional writer. Thanks so much, all of you, Holly, led by Holly, and reminding us that Sean is an important part of the group, and of course he is, and he's a great writer too. So, quickly, there is a question directly for Mr. Hardy from Zero Zaku One. Tim, what would you say were your inspirations behind your books? I think you might have a TBR ad here, Tim. Sounds like he's interested in.
What inspiration? So I think everything I'd ever read, which is a bit of an awful answer, but it's true. I think everything does inspire you, and you draw on inspirations for those things. I think the single biggest thing for Brotherhood of the Eagle, so the Viking series, would be Robin Hobb's writing. So Assassin's Apprentice and the book, the Farseer trilogy that kind of followed was really influential. So I think my style is very similar to hers in terms of it's a lot of people talking, let's be honest. Again, there is action and stuff that comes in, but primarily it's character-driven fantasy. Bjorn was raving about A Quiet Vengeance, and I'm delighted he did that because I'm fighting against the imposter syndrome that tells me to tear it down immediately. But I think with A Quiet Vengeance, the book that was most inspirational for that would have been Ian M. Banks, science fiction writer who passed away about 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, in actual fact, 2013. Wrote incredible books in all sorts of different genres, but very well known for his sci-fi. And he wrote a book in the culture universe, which is called Use of Weapons. So if you remember, that it's quite a distinctive cover. It's got a battleship on the front, and it's all about basically a soldier that sort of is being used in a particular way, but has a dark secret. And the way Ian M. Banks told that story was he tells the story of this soldier going forwards in time through all his different exploits. And there's a second narrative, which is going backwards in time from the same point, and then the story starts to move apart. And the reason he does that is there's a reveal at the very beginning of this guy's story that is effectively then told at the end by using that narrative structure. So it made me realize that you could use, story and structure and plot are really, really important. Storytelling sounds really obvious, but that was the book that made me go, oh, that's how that gets done then. So again, if you're going to learn from people, learn from the best. And so, I wanted to do something with timelines and something with narrative structure. And that's why A Quiet Vengeance came about. So it's actually really a bit of a love letter to Ian M. Banks, which is a slightly weird thing to say, but I've said it and it's true. And if I do the sequel to A Quiet Vengeance, which I fully intend to do, it will use the Ian M. Banks full reverse narrative structure. So that's the intention. So that book was very, very inspirational to me, and it taught me a lot. And A Quiet Vengeance was the dry run for what I hope to do with the follow-up story. So that's lots of other stuff I could chuck in there, but those are probably the touchstones for me right now with the current present day writing.
And Zero Zaku One, you can't go wrong with either Brother of the Eagle, Tim's main series, and of course his short stories. But I'm sorry, I have to quickly echo Bjorn. A Quiet Vengeance is just, how I feel about that book. It's just on a completely other level that I literally was left speechless reading that book. And I it's like, your friend's writing style, they're talented, they're great. But then when you read something that is just, it was so good. I
love this podcast. I love it. I'm embracing it all.
And I quickly want to, since, I have to spread the love around. I talked about Bjorn's book, talked about Tim's. Lee, actually, the favorite thing I read by Lee was in Skybreaker, his story there. And the humor, the dark humor, he's great at exceptional writing characters, and exceptional writing characters that are convoluted and kind of, what I loved about his story there was that, he had characters that some of them taking themselves too seriously and some of them not taking themselves seriously at all. It was just really awesome. So I love that. I can't wait to read more from him. Definitely plan to read his series, the Ritual series. I guess it would be Is it the Ritual series, Lee? Like, what is it?
The series is called the Dead Sagas.
The
The
Dead
books have all got the name. Everyone keeps calling them the Ritual books. But that was purely by accident. Because every time I try and name a book differently, everyone's like, "No, you need to call it a Ritual something." I'm like, "Ah, fair enough." So I did. But no, the Dead Sagas is the actual main series. But yeah, thank you, though, PL. That's really cool.
No,
I love
really.
that story as well. It's, I've written quite a lot of maritime stuff. A lot of my short stories are maritime short stories, and I quite like that one. So thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely going to read more. And I mean, what can I say about the Princes of Grimdark? I mean, Vanguard is one of my favorite literary characters ever. I mean, ever in any book. And again, like Tim with a Quiet Vengeance, as amazing a writer as Holly is, and much I love the Grimdark Chronicles, and as great as they are, and become this real, very popular grimdark, well acclaimed grimdark series. SPW fans, The Hollows is something totally. It's on that next level, right? And it is. I think somebody wrote in a review. I want to say maybe it was Wolfman Tula that I mean, we're all playing it up and joking around, and Hollywood the Terror, the Princess of Grimdark. She is the Princess of Grimdark. She is, that good and is becoming that instrumental to the indie side of the genre and becoming that well known and that well acknowledged for writing. And let's face it, no one writes first lines better than Rachel Tinsley. Her first lines are, no one can touch those. So I just want to quickly, we could talk probably for the next 5 hours. I know that. Oh, there's a hand up, I believe, or two or three.
I must say this. My favorite book by H.L. Tinsley is actually The Hand That Cast the Bone. And maybe that's not the obvious choice, but the first Vanguard book is, well, it's a very good grimdark book, but The Hand That Cast the Bone, I wrote about this in my review. It's not really the second Vanguard book, it's the second universe book. And it's about all those incredible people who are so detailed and interesting. And it's not grimdark in a way like everything's over and we're going to die, but it also has this humor. I love British humor. And HL writes something that's like really, really, really dark. And then suddenly I go completely unexpectedly. And thank you for this. I'm really, really looking forward to book 3. That's it. You can continue, PL.
No, I don't mind being interrupted by that at all. I certainly echo that. Quickly, Timothy Wolf, another fantastic author himself, and for the channel. Hey, Timothy, happy Saturday to you. Check out Timothy's series. He is also a great writer. So, as we're winding down here, I apologize. We could talk for hours and hours, an hour and a half. It goes by so fast. We'd like to kind of, in the sign-off, have everyone tell everyone that's watching in the live who will watch the replay, where do we find you on socials, where do we buy your books, and also, if you're willing to, talk a little bit about what upcoming projects, to the degree that you're able. We know there's some secret stuff going on in the works. We all tend to have that all. If you can disclose at least some of, just give us a hint. And so if you can all do that as we sign off, we'll start, of course, with Her Royal Highness.
Thank you very much for all the wonderful things that you have all just said. I would just like to add, before we wrap this up as well, that for those people who are maybe thinking of starting their own groups or looking for a community that they want to be a part of as writers or creatives or whatever it is to just go out there and try to get to know people and make sure you know what it is you're looking for, whether it's help with promoting yourself, whether it's someone to give you emotional support, mental health support. Make sure you find the right fit and the right group for you, because there are dozens, hundreds, loads of them out there. They're all great. They all have something to offer. But if you want to get the value out of it, then just make sure that you are getting into the right space. So it's my little helpful tip there. In terms of my own work then, God, I'm terrible at this bit. The Vanguard Chronicles, books 1 and 2, as I mentioned earlier, they are out. They're available on Amazon. They are also in audiobook format, narrated by the wonderful Mr. R.J. Bailey. The Hallows, that is currently out in paperback and ebook. again, available on Amazon. In terms of projects I've got coming up, I have Vanguard 3 in the works. I have been working on it today. It's getting there slowly but surely, and hopefully that will be out either end of this year, beginning of next year. And I also have another project which is actually almost completed but has been put on the back burner in order for me to do Vanguard 3, because I don't think I'd get away with releasing another book before I release that one. And that is, I did another anthology called The Advent of Winter, which was a Kickstarter which was arranged by Don McDermott. Brilliant authors in that. It was a privilege to be a part of it. But my short story in that is actually being turned into a novel. So that's something I've been working on quietly in the background. Not going to reveal too much about it, but that is, again, another fantasy. And hopefully that will come out the following year, so 2026. So yeah, that is what I've got in the works at the minute.
Okay. So I have been very busy of late. So I haven't released a novel since 2020. So it's been a good 4 years since I've released a novel. I've done a bunch of anthologies in the meantime, but short stories aren't quite novels. And everyone keeps asking me, what are you up to? And I can tell you, I have been very, very busy. So I'm just wrapping up right now the last few pages of A Ritual of Blood. It should be out this year. A Ritual of Death, which will be the fourth. There is going to be a fourth book. It's just too long. I can't contain it in the third book. The Ritual of Death will be hopefully out, or at least finished this year. It's going to be real soon now, about halfway through it already. But A Ritual of Blood's going to be really, really soon. So you should have the last two Dead Sagas, making it a 4-book series this year, hopefully, or early next year by the latest. So, and also other stuff that's been going on. There's a book, if anyone has read my short story collection that I released in October, there's a story right at the end about sort of a cowboy ghost story. Now that is also being turned into a longer book. It's called The Wraith Slinger, and which my colleague Tim is going to be laughing. Not Tim Hardy, another Tim. He's going to be laughing about this if he listens. But yeah, Wraith Slinger should be with us pretty soon as well. Been quite busy with that. But basically, news on the Dead Sagas finally. So thank you for being patient, everyone who's been listening, who's been waiting. But yeah, you should have them really, really soon. And they should be all right, actually. Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's why it's taken so long. I think that's it. So yeah, they're available. You can go on my website, leeconleyauthor.com. You can go on Amazon. Just Google my name, Lee Conley. They're quite easy to find. They're out on hardback, paperback, ebook, and also I use the same narrator as everyone else, as RJ. He narrated all my books. Yeah, so go check them out, please. Thank you. That'd be amazing.
And on socials, Lee, I just want to confirm, or maybe I might have missed that part.
Socials. I'm on Twitter. I think I'm Longsword Lee on Twitter. Just type in Lee C. Conley on any of the social medias. I'm on Facebook, Blue Sky. Yeah, all of it. Okay, quite easy to find. LinkedIn, if you want to get all corporate, I'm on there as well.
All right. Mr. Larson.
I've actually been quite busy as well. So I had 2 years of a break because of my mental health problems, and the sequel to Children was supposed to be out in 2021. It will actually be out either the end of this year or the beginning of the next. It's called Land, and I am halfway through producing a version that's going to go to my editor. And of course, I want to rewrite everything because everything is completely wrong, and this is what I have to stop myself from doing, because I also have a sequel for Why Odin Drinks coming out. And those 2 books, if things go well, will both be out within the next 12 months. And also, Storytellers is actually my most popular book. And it came to me in an actual dream. And the dream just wouldn't go away for literal years until I was like, okay, I'm going to write this down. And then the book came out, and it did pretty well. And a lot of people were asking me, so where's the sequel? Where's the sequel? And I just kept saying, I don't have a sequel. I don't have an idea. And then it was a Thursday. Somebody asked me the same question. I get the same answer. I go to bed. I get up, and I start writing down the sequel. It's not as much a sequel. It's a follow-up. It happens 15 years later. It's going to be called The Poison Never Dies. And from that one dream, and I don't actually remember the dream, but I have a complete first draft of that book. And that hopefully will be at the end of 25. And apart from that, there's a collaboration coming out at some point, probably 25, but we'll see about it when it comes. In any case, I've been busy. As for my website, bjornlarsen.com, and as for my social media, bjornlarsen.com/sm. Not S&M, that's something else, SM for social media. And that has links to everything. Thanks.
All right, Mr. Hardy.
What am I doing? So I'm venturing into the world of audiobooks. Is the next thing I've got coming out. So as we mentioned before, got that Kickstarter funding, so I'm pretty busy producing the audiobook for Hall of Bones. But to get me started on that, I'm actually doing a mini short story collection first. So that'll be audiobook and ebook, and that's called A Roll of the Dice. So that features, it's effectively set in the Brotherhood of the Eagle universe, but it's got a bit of myth and a bit of legend and some other bits and pieces I couldn't quite fit into the main series. You get to meet some new characters and you get to meet some existing characters as well, and also fills in some of the backstory. So I'm having quite a lot of fun. That's the current project I'm really working on now. It is the one I'm sort of focused on. Broken Brotherhood is written, it's with my editor, so that's coming out at the end of the year. So that completes the whole Brotherhood of the Eagle series. It's a 4-book trilogy. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to apologise. It's how it was meant to be. So yeah, 2025 is going to be really, really busy just with getting all those, beginning a series effectively with audio and then ending a series in the written, going back to the written word again. 2025, I've been working on a short story series that you get through my newsletter, which you can sign up to on my website. So I've been releasing something called The Wolf Throne as a sort of episodic. I thought it was a short story, random collection. Then I realized, oh no, actually this is a novel. So that was quite alarming. So I've got to basically finish that now. So I think I'm on course to finish that as a standalone release next year in 2025. And then as Mr. Larsen keeps reminding me, I have promised I would write a sequel, or it's not a sequel, it's a follow-up, and it's a standalone in its own right. But I did promise him I would write A Quiet Betrayal, which is the follow-up to A Quiet Vengeance. So that I think is scheduled for 2026. Who knows? If it goes really well, it might be earlier. But I'm not promising. But yeah, those are the immediate plans, and that already gets me another 2 years down the track. Where to find me? So in terms of my retail, I'm all on Amazon exclusive at the moment, so easy to find the books. And if you want to find me on social media, it's basically search for Tim Hardy Author is the best way to do that. You can find me on X, Blue Sky. I'm on Facebook as well, and I also have a website. Again, just with that, type that in, you shouldn't have any trouble finding me.
Well, some great news I'm hearing from all of you about what's coming up. I'm excited. P.L. Stewart, the Drawn Kingdom Saga, www.plstewart.com is my website. I am on mostly Twitter, somewhat Instagram and Facebook, very minimally Blue Sky, but I'm out there on social media. As well, the Drawn Kingdom Saga, let's talk about that first. Book 4 is out, Alliance Pride. Book 5, entitled A Pack of Wolves, will be debuting in the spring of 2025, God willing. As usual, I promise to publish a book a year, and I'm trying to keep that commitment in the spring of each year successfully. So book 5 of a 7-book series. Yes, I'm crazy, but it is a 7-book series. And but I'm trying to keep that commitment, and you, God willing, you will see book 7 surface in 2027. I also am, for the first time, I am also working on part of an anthology. Thank you so much, Tim. He says he's super excited for A Pack of Wolves. Grateful that Tim was willing to read an arc of Alliance Pride. It is The Shapers of Worlds, Volume 5. It's a wonderful anthology with some absolutely brilliant authors. Like, I don't know why they asked me, but really they asked me because it's the Ed Willett, who's an award-winning podcaster and best-selling writer himself. He basically picks people to come on his podcast every year, and he asks those writers to be part of the anthology. And I was blessed to be that. Like I said, donor chose it. I'm nervous, short fiction is not my thing, but we're gonna give it a shot. Can't say much about the story itself other than to tell you it is, well, I'll give you some hints. It is a vampire story set in somewhere in the John King universe. That's all I'll say about that. And sometime near the end of 2025, I too will be involved in collaboration with a brilliant author that hopefully will, not sure when it's going to debut, but yeah, I'll be working on a collaboration myself at some point. And very, 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 very excited about that. First time I've ever done that in my career. So yeah, I think that's where we're winding down here. There's I do want to give one just as a Zero's. We're so grateful for the people who showed up in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone who came to chat, watched the live, participated, give comments, questions for the guests. You're wonderful. Have to give this last one to Zerozaku1. Do you have any recommendations to read before you go? We'll allow that if you guys have time to give a few quick recs.
I got a few. Oh, go on, Holly.
I was going to say, I think you can probably get quite a few from we mentioned it before, The Anatomy of Fear, but all of the authors in this were chosen specifically because they are top of the game indie authors. So we've got Trudy Skies, would highly recommend. L.L. McRae, obviously Jacob Sanks we've mentioned, he's in the Marmites but not here with us tonight. Crystal Matar, B.A. Belloc, Sean Crow, Ryan Howes, Samuel Akhtar, all of these guys, all different voices, all unique, all original. So a little bit of a shout out for them as well.
I'd like to say there's a few books that have been around for ages now. These are some older indie books that sometimes disappear off the radar because the writers aren't around as much anymore and whatnot. But you want to be checking out D.M. Murray's Red Season books. They're absolutely amazing. You want to be checking out J.P. Ashman's Black Arrow, books. Sorry, dude. You want to be checking out Michael Baker's The Thousand Scars, which is absolutely incredible. Now he's just pulled that one off publication. He's bringing it back out again soon. He's a good friend of mine, and I've been keeping a good eye on it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's an indie book as well. Check out that Thousand Scars by Michael Baker. There's so many. Someone else go while I think of some more. There's so many, but check out those three at least.
There's this problem when there's so many, right? It's like I was just sitting here and going in my head like, I suddenly forgot all the books I have ever read. But I remember one or two. So if you are really into incredible characters and gorgeous world building and beautiful story, and you're one of those people who go, I don't like romance in my book, and then you'll finish this one and you'll say, well, unless, then I really, really recommend Fortune's Fool by Angela Board. And on a very different end of the spectrum, there's Demons Inc. That's ink like tattoo ink, quite literally, by Clayton Snyder. Clayton is an incredibly talented author. And pretty much whatever he touches turns to gold because he's a poet. But this book is just crazy fun. Actually, it's crazy and fun at the same time. Oh my God, what was the third? Oh, yes. Over London by George Penny and Tony Johnson. It's first book in a series. And if you want to read something that's actually close to being as good as Terry Pratchett, George Penny, Over London, that's one word. Look it up, get it, thank me later.
Tim?
Right, we've got another hour, haven't we? So it shouldn't take long. I think it's, again, we've talked about a load of people. I could, second lots of what people have just said before. There are just tons and tons of really good writers out there. Some of my favourites, I mentioned them earlier, but a couple more I haven't mentioned. I've got to give a shout out to Rob J. Hayes. I just think, that was one of the best reads I've ever had with his Mortal Techniques, so again, series of standalones. That they're just exceptional books, and I've got to take my hat off to him, really, that they're fantastic things. I'd go with Chris Beckett, Dark Eden sci-fi series as well. Really thoughtful, mesmerizing read where just a completely alien world gets created and unfolds in the pages, and you just see human nature uprooted from one world, put in another, and everything just, that whole community and how it then develops and progresses. So many lessons about humanity in there. Brilliant brilliant book, one of my all-time favourites. And I'll give a shout out as well to somebody we haven't mentioned so far, Kirsten Espinosa-Rosero, who was again in my sort of finalist group a couple of years ago in SPIFBO, and it's Burn Red Skies series, which is just so vivid and inventive. Really, really different writers, really, really different books, but all of them, you'll have a great time with them. So yeah, I thought a shout out to her as well.
Yeah, those are all fantastic recs. Quickly, I'll say for trad, some of my favorite authors. Janny Wirtz, my favorite author of all time. No one writes like Janny. She just came out with the 11th book in the Wars of Light and Shadow, her seminal series. She's iconic. And To Rise Hell's Chasm is my favorite fantasy book of all time. Miles Christian Cameron, amazing, not only science fiction, historical fiction, but also fantasy writer. His Trader's Son Cycle. That is the book, that is the series that made me want to write the Drowned Kingdom. That got me back into my love of fantasy. So obviously Miles Christian Cameron. And as a third, it's almost unfair to mention him because he's very popular too. And everyone, it's Bernard Cornwell. I think he's still, one of the granddaddies of historical fiction and one of the ultimate masters of historical battles. I mean,
he's my favorite writer.
He
Hands
is.
down.
He is just, his Arthurian Warlord Chronicles is probably the best trilogy ever. I mean, better than Lord of the Rings for me. It's probably the best fantasy trilogy that I've read. Indies, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Philip Chase of the Edan trilogy, one of my favorite indie trilogies going right now. He's a wonderful, beloved booktuber, academic. He's a sweet, great guy and a brilliant writer. His Edan trilogy is really blown up. It's really making the rounds in fantasy circles, and I predict big things from Mr. Chase. Indies, there's just so many. I'm gonna give a shout out to Zamil Akhtar, Gunmetal Gods. Just a brilliant, dark, bloody, twisted, just Eastern inspired, gorgeous, lush. He is a brilliant writer and probably one of the, in terms of acclaim and selling, one of the hottest ones going on right now. And I think the last one I'm gonna mention here is indie-wise is going to be that's a tough one. Vaughn Roycroft, who has written Severing Sun, and the most recent one, Bold Ascension, came out. I haven't read it yet. Phenomenal up-and-coming indie writer, great action scenes. This series is basically like about the Roman Germanic tribes that essentially sacked Rome, the Visigoths, etc. It is phenomenal. So those are my recs right now. There's so many I can make. Obviously, we can go on all day, but those are some of my top recs right now. So
PL, do you mind if I throw out a few extra names just while I've been thinking?
Go ahead.
Right. I'll be quick. For military sci-fi, go check out Damian Larkin. He's really, really good. Anything by Phil Williams. His books are absolutely fantastic. Alex Bradshaw is amazing as well. These guys are a bit more well-known in the indie world, but I'm a big fan of Ben Galley. If you haven't read Ben Galley's works, go read Ben's. And obviously Michael Fletcher, who's a friend of mine as well, and Clayton. But yeah, go read Fletcher's books. He is probably one of the best grimdark writers about. So but I know everyone's already heard of him, but if you haven't, go check him out.
All right, sounds good. All right, so we're going to sign off. I want to thank you, all of you, my friends, for taking the time out of your busy evenings for all of you, because you're all on that side of the world where it's getting much later into the night. Thank you for staying awake and staying alert and being so positive and warm and wonderful and doing this. You are all very special to me, and I'm so grateful and honored to be part of the Marmites. It is definitely an honor, and thank you for all you do and all you've done for me personally in my career and as friends. And I look forward to us sharing a lot more laughs and cries and craziness and silliness in our really quirky, neat little group that is immensely special. So thank you for doing this. Once again, thanks to everyone in the chat, everyone who joined us, all the comments, the questions. You guys make this type of long form content what it is. Without you, it wouldn't be. So thank you so much for taking time of your days to tune in. And of course, everyone who's going to watch the replay down the road. So we're going to sign off here, folks. And from the Marmites, thank you very much. And you know what? Just final word. Read something out there that maybe you might not have thought it was your thing, that maybe you've heard a lot of mixed reviews, really good, really bad. Go check it out for yourself and see if it's your thing. It might be Marmite in the best way. So, all right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.